Hello, Gearslutz. I'm here with Heckman, and after making some really beautiful software that is very popular, has gone into Eurorack. I'm giving the microphone to him so he can explain exactly what's going on here. Hello, Urs.
Hey, so yeah, I take it, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm Urs Heckman from Yehi, and we're a software company, but we're currently working on our first hardware. For our first hardware, we chose to do a Eurorack module, which is I'm a little bit of a nutter for modular stuff, so it made a lot of sense. And a Eurorack module is a little bit like a plugin for hardware, and we're a plugin company, so it kind of made a lot of sense to do that. This is what the module looks like. It's a prototype. It's not the final design, but it's already pretty much there. And what it has is I want to explain now what the user interface is like. So it's got these 8 beautiful LED illuminated encoders. They're like endless encoders, and they're like, they have very distinguishable colors and brightness, and they are also buttons. And here's a mode button, and here are 4 modes. So the module is going to have 4 modes, but at the moment we only have the first mode finished so that we can show it. And what it also has is it's got 4 audio inputs and 4 audio outputs, and these are in 24-bit 96 kilohertz plus minus 10 volts, and they're DC coupled. The module is called CVilization with the C and the V in capital letters to express that it's ready for CV, but you can also use audio in it. And it also has 2 CV inputs which we use for triggers or clocks or actual CV modulation of what's going on within the module. And the first mode sounds very simple. It is a 4x4 matrix mixer. So it's got 4 inputs that you can route onto 4 outputs, of course. And these are the first line here. That's the 4 inputs, and these are the 4 outputs. First of all, I can mute each input, I can mute each output. But then I can, like a normal mixer, I say, what do I put onto the green output? I press it, and then I can mix the inputs onto the green output. And as you see, it always shows the colors on all LEDs, because most of the time you've got your hand in front of it, right? And you want to be able to see it. So this way I can here choose the yellow output, the green or blue output, or the mauve output, and set any input to whatever I want. But I can also go the other way around and say, okay, I want the green input routed on the 4 outputs, right, like that. And so you have got like 2 different perspectives on the same matrix. And usually a matrix mixer is quite big, because you need 16 knobs. And with this interface, we managed to squeeze that in only 8 encoders and in 10 HP. So it's fairly small. It's a small module. It's good for any mobile setups, or it's good for people who are beginners who need a lot of functionality in one module. And what we also do is we added a quantizer into this mode. So I can long press here, and I can set a different scale for each output. Like, this doesn't have a scale, it's not quantized. This is a major scale, this is not quantized, this is a minor scale for the outputs. But I can also set the same ones or different ones. We're still working on the exact colors and everything. And we can also set a sample and hold for each output. So we can say from our CV inputs, either the first one, which is the yellow one, or the second one, which is the mauve one, will be sample and holds for that output. And we also have glide, which is then also a low pass filter, of course, for each output. and it's all separately selectable. And the inputs will be normalized so that the first input will be 1 volt steps for octaves, and then the second will go intervals within the selected scale. The third will be semitones. The fourth will be cents. So you can, with this simple matrix mixer, you can have an oscillator controller. You can have a stereo mixer with 2 auxiliary cents, no returns, but 2 cents at least. You can do all sorts of things, like especially when you control oscillators, and it's very stable over the whole range. You can have a little bit of a sequencer on one oscillator and a lot of the same sequence on another, and an inverted sequence on the third, and then you have only used one input. You still have the other inputs to do transposition or add even another sequence, or what I like to do, I like to noodle, so I like to just put a voltage like from maths or from pressure points into one input and just noodle the oscillators in scale, and not just in scale, but because it's got the sample and hold, it's also quantized in time, and that alone makes this module, for me personally as a performer, extremely valuable. But then the second mode, which we haven't implemented yet, will be a sequential switch, so that you can have each input routed on any of the outputs, and you can switch through a sequence with that. So each output will have a sequence of up to 8 of the input configurations, and with different attenuations. So it's basically also a sequencer then, and actually 4 sequencers with different what's it called? Not clock dividers. Clock dividers was what I was looking for, and they can also do gates and that kind of stuff. And the third mode will just be a dual ADSR. So you've got ADSR and ADSR, and when you click, let's say, on the decay, then you can use the inputs to modulate the decay time, and you can use the bottom pots to, for instance, give out a gate on one of the open unused outputs, and you can select the curve for the stage, and you can do that for each stage on each side. So that makes it a very useful dual ADSR with a lot of functionality, again only in 10 HP. And the fourth mode will be pairs of inputs and outputs with 2 knobs each for AD envelopes or LFOs or quantizers or sample and hold or random sources, and you can configure that any way you want. And each of the 4 modes has got 8 presets. So you press this button, you press another, hold this button, you press another button, you recall a preset, 8 presets. But the 8th preset is always an init preset. That's your starting point and where you know what it is. And it all boils down to having this relatively new what's it called, part, which is this encoder that has the RGB LED and a button that allows us to do a user interface, which will be, it's not intuitive in the way that I can see. You can see what it does just by looking at it, but you just watch a video and you will be able to use it, because it's going to be so simple. We give so much user feedback with how the selected mode is blinking and all of that. It looks beautiful, and it's going to be easy to use despite a lot of functionality in a very, very small space. Yeah, and that's about it.
And you had a schematic you wanted to show us. So this is a matrix mixer, quantizer, and dual sample and hold. This is the functionality of this module.
It's the functionality of just the first mode of it, right? It's what we have here, but it's the matrix mixer with built-in quantizer and 2 sampler and holds with glide, and all of that in 10 HP, and still usable and still live performable, including the mutes for each output and input.
Very cool. One more question. You have a lot of experience with software. Do you have any plans that you would like to tell us, or what you really want to do next? Because this is quite a new start.
I hope that this is our start in Eurorack, and I hope that we will sell the first batch and then we will make more. And once that happens, we have more ideas for Eurorack modules, of course, where we will use some of our code. We're not gonna do, I don't think we will, I mean, you can never say never, but we're not gonna do like Diva filters for Eurorack. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to do an analog filter emulation digital in a modular environment. That would be kind of weird, right? So we're probably not going to do that. But we have ideas for synth voices, we have ideas for reverbs, for delays, for more modulation sources, for sequencers, and of course oscillators. The digital oscillators that we do, for instance, in Bacille, or even something like Hive or Zebra, they would be very well suited for a Eurorack module. Like especially if it interacts, like if you can save a state from the software right into the modules, that kind of stuff. But we have not set anything in stone yet, and we're still doing software. So software is still going to be our main operation for the time being. We're still working on it, and we also have new software to show here, which is a really cool delay plugin, as I think. And so that's going to still happen in future. There's no way we're going to drop the software anytime soon.
Very cool. Thank you very much. And
thank you for coming by.